This is a poster I got when I was 10 years old of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. I started playing at 12, but by the age of 10, I was obsessed with Hendrix and his guitar playing. And here is the original cover to Electric Ladyland. It caused such a commotion that it had to be replaced immediately, and you can see why. Don't look too close. Here's the cover that we know and love. I'm going to tell the story about this a little later in the video. But first, if you're a guitar player, stay with me a couple of minutes and let's listen to something on this record that shows one of Hendrix's finest moments as a guitarist. I'm talking about his instinctive use of triads, dyads, and his genius rhythm guitar. So this starts out with triads. They are familiar chords, but they are also upper inversions. Here's an A with the third in the bass, E with fifth in the bass, G with third in the bass, and D with the fifth in the bass. Now when we play the part, we bring in two more triads. One here with the third in the bass, it's an E, and one here with the third in the bass, it's a D. So and the trick here is, when you get it up to speed, is to play it accurately, lightly, and loosely, but with a really good pocket. And the challenge is hitting that low E string. So here's Jimi's part from the actual record. It's on YouTube. We'll have the link below. And here's what I'm talking about. It's loose and accurate at the same time. And this is part of his genius. So we start out with a straight A chord. I'm sure he's hanging his thumb way over and grabbing the low note. Really loose strum. Then E sus. Then this fill, which is a triad. Right? And then the A again. And now dyads, double stops, and this fill. And then the E sus again. And the fill again. Okay, back to the A. And then he reverses the dyad fill. And then the E sus again. And he alters this triad fill and he does this. So before it was, and now it becomes, right? And then back to the A, back to this, back to the E sus, right? And then he comes up here and does this. So now here's the chorus. So the choruses have repetition combined with spontaneous variation, which makes them sound pretty magical. Let's dive in. D over G. And then a riff. And we start again. And this is a variation. It just kind of turns it around. D over G, riff. And then this variation is unique because he doesn't even play the part down here. He just comes straight up here and goes. And then the D over G, the riff, and a stab. I encourage you to go to the soloed track on YouTube and listen to the choruses. It's a quick song, won't take you long. You'll be astounded at all the variations, the really inspired variations that happen in all the different choruses. So I just added some new rhythm lessons to the masterclass, including one in this exact style. If you want this lesson for free, just click the link below and take the 14-day free trial in the masterclass. Here's what you'll be learning with tabs. So Wait Till Tomorrow is on the second Experience record, Axis Boldest Love. The third Experience record is Electric Ladyland. We are very familiar with this. This is the American release. But the UK release of Electric Ladyland was this cover. So now there are several versions of this story, but I'll tell it as best I can. This was created by somebody at the record company in London. And this person hired a photographer to go out late one night to London pubs and gather some pretty women. And there are 19 of them. And they were all asked to be part of a Jimi Hendrix photo shoot, which I think was something they said yes to instantly, because Jimi was quite a force at this point in time. And I think everybody just said yes. So they all went to a studio, and the idea was floated that it would be better if they were topless. And they said no. But I think, just with the idea that Jimi might show up and trying to please Jimi, they all said yes to being topless for £5. And then the idea was floated that wouldn't it even be better if they were naked? And they all said no. And then they were offered £8 in one story or £10 in another story. So they were offered more pounds and they said yes. I think they all did it for Jimi. Now, when I say nobody was happy, Jimi was not happy because he had no part in this and it was a surprise to him. Beyond that, he felt like they weren't represented well, that they were pretty women who were made to look not so pretty by the lighting and the layout. Others felt this way too. Now, the retailers didn't like having this in the bins at the record stores. Some of them put this record in paper sacks. Even the women in the photo shoot were not happy with their representation. They felt it was less than classy, and the record company had purposely darkened everything to make it look more rock and roll. If you look closely, there's a lot of friendly faces. It would have had a whole different tone if it hadn't been darkened like this, and maybe a different shot had been chosen. So finally, here's a letter that Hendrix wrote to the record company a little bit late. Part of the reason this happened is that Hendrix was busy recording and touring, and he didn't submit his request early enough. So this letter explains how he would like it, what he would like it to be. He never quite got that because what he wanted was the band sitting at a particular fountain in a park in New York and having Linda Eastman, who later became Linda McCartney, have her photograph it. Finally, posthumously, he got what he wanted, because in 2018, they did a 50-year anniversary reissue of Electric Ladyland with the photo that he wanted. So doing this video inspired me to teach you a couple of other things. I'm going to go to the end of When Cries Mary and the beginning of Castles Made of Sand, and we're going to look at dyads and triads. You're about to hear on When Cries Mary the exotic Stratocaster. The back of the neck is pretty great. Here's the front. These guys make great guitars, as does Francesco Sondelli. You're about to hear this guitar on Castles Made of Sand. And then finally, we've been listening to this guitar, which I think sounds great. It's a hardtail by Mario Martin. So here at the end of When Cries Mary, we have dyads walking up from E flat to F, and it's the low two strings. The fifth interval is below the tonic. Here's the low fifth. Put them together. And it's really low and throaty on those low two strings. Very inventive. And then we move to triads here. Once again, chromatic. Third in the bass this time, and hammers. And then this thing's really cool. So he's doing a dyad, a double stop. And then he creates an F7 tonality, dominant 7. Prior to this, it's kind of all been major pentatonic. This is F7. It's a nice twist. And once again, the hammer here. And then a double stop here, which is very classic R&B, Steve Cropper-ish. And that even could be called Rolling Stones-ish. Keith Richards style. So really inventive use of dyads and triads. So Castles Made of Sand starts with a non-traditional triad, a 1, a 5, and a 9. So we slide this around. Now start the song. And this is a spread of 2 notes, 3 notes, and 4 notes. Some of them ring together. So there's the dyad. And another dyad. Moving on. There's a dyad there. And that's my favorite triad. It's spread, which means I'm playing across it. It's not all at once. It's not, oh, that sounds cool. It's my favorite one. And here we do a major chord, triad and dyad. And then into the verse and into the song. Hey guys, a lot of the time YouTube will bring you my videos even though you're not subscribed. If you get the chance, click this subscribe button and ring the bell.